Right, guys, going to be warm today. 12 degrees apparently, and it's getting warmer over the next few days, and then another cold snap. So I'm going to leave everything in place, all the car charger and the anti-water freezing measures. So good, we're all good. Bulgaria. There's a lot of things developing at the moment on the, especially on the Eastern European front. The conflict in Ukraine, which I've just watched a piece actually on the BBC, and they don't really know whether they're coming or going. The BBC in the UK, they're like anti everything. Seemingly at the moment, they're anti Trump, they're anti Russia, they're anti Putin, they're anti EU. So, but they're like, what are they pro? No, they might be pro Zelensky and pro Ukraine. But I don't remember as a child or any time since, especially after 1991 when Ukraine, were let go by the Soviet Union. And they were actually sharing the Black Sea Fleet and Sevastopol, and they were getting gas for virtually nothing. They hardly ever paid the bills. Yet, during that time from 91 to 2014, you didn't hear much about what you hear now about Ukraine being this the seat of democracy. Now, if it was all what they're saying now, well, they would have got them into the EU straight away. But they didn't, and the reasons why they didn't is the way the country is, and they didn't meet any of the criteria even to be in the queue. So, and the ties were always with still with Russia. Actually, a lot of Ukrainians went to work in Russia, and they were the main trading partners, obviously, because they were neighbours. And up to when Yanukovych was ousted, they were friendly with each other. Or relatively friendly. So now, if you look at the politics if anybody knows about politics in Ukraine, they need to know who the Banderas are and people like that, and who the right sector were, and how the Azov battalion came about, and all of these things, and private armies and all the rest of it, because that's how the Ukraine was ran, and still is, largely by oligarchs. And Poroshenko, he's the chocolate king of chocolate. We get Poroshenko chocolate in Bulgaria even now, and it's good stuff. It's good chocolate actually. But so they were always this kind of rogue state, and there was no mention of any of these this beacon of democracy or like they were supplied the world with everything and anything, and they were this important partner and all the rest of it. Right, what they're willing to do is go up against Russia on the promise that like they get supplied with whatever they needed, which they were, as they thought, and the West thought that that's what they needed, and it was all a case of underestimating the opposition. If you follow it anyway, which obviously the BBC don't. The UK is a place where people don't want to hear things and they don't want to think about things. They're told that Russia's the bogeyman, and always has been, and Putin's this guy who wants to invade Europe and all the rest of it. Well, he would have started really with the Baltic states, wouldn't he? Or maybe Finland. If he'd have wanted to invade Europe, and why would he want to do that? And actually, the Baltic states are provocative. They're always provoking Russia, and because they're like little big man syndrome. To think they're protected now by the EU, which obviously they're not. And if the EU or especially the US, if they'd have thought they got the upper hand, which the BBC said, that's what you got a guy on there who's saying they've already won hands down Ukraine. And where do you get these people? I don't know. I mean, I could go on there and say like, oh yeah, it's Ukraine, but they've won. Well, the evidence is that they haven't, and they're not going to, and the more they lose, the worse it gets actually, because they're burning through all this equipment and all these men, and the more they do that, the less likely it is ever, because this is all the stuff that's supplied to them by the whole world, basically the whole of the Western world, the northern Western world, and even that has been largely spanked. And if you follow the coverage of the actual battlefield, it's accelerating the actual annihilation of all this equipment. They just keep throwing it in there, and as time goes on, it gets worse and worse. Doesn't get better. They've just been had another offensive into the Kursk region and just got hammered. Because they've been over the past few years, they've been in heavily fortified places, which were hard to take over, and now they've all fallen one by one. There's only a couple left, still hanging on in Chasiv Yar, I think it's called, but like all the others have more or less fallen, like Bakhmut and Avdiivka and places like that. They were the strongholds, the invincible strongholds, and they've all gone one by one, and another one's just gone as well, Toretsk, and so if you follow it, I mean, it's just like I don't like have any rooting for anyone or anything. I just follow it because it's not far from here. And you want to know how it's all how it's going, and propaganda's worse than anything really. But they're anti everything. The UK, they're anti-Putin, anti-Trump. They're not pro anything. They're not pro anything. They're anti-Israel now. Anti everything. Now, and they pick all these like kind of underdogs like Ukraine and Palestine, and they may be good causes and all the rest of it, but like actually the UK, Great Britain, caused a lot of the trouble in Israel. If you look back in history, they created it, Israel, and actually they could have done it in Ukraine. They could have formed a state there. There actually was a state. They reckon there's a faction of the Jewish people who were from that region. So who knows? So, and it was kind of stated that it didn't have to be right in the centre of the Middle East for if they wanted like this homeland. But anyway, these are all just things that that like they don't affect you really. Now, when I was a kid, it was always the Germans that were like, they were the bad guys. And now they're the good guys. They're running the show. And they're unelected. This von der Leyen. And I don't know why her name's like Dutch. Von der Leyen. A lot of them changed their names, like the Windsors. Like, they were German. They had German names. And they changed the names to Windsor because it was like they didn't want to be they have the German names, like and all this stuff. You've got to kind of just get to know it over the years, and nothing makes sense. It's all upside down. And so the best thing to do is look at where you're at the present time, and like get away from them things. I'm watching another guy, and he's good. He's from Argentina, and I like the way he puts things across. And he went to Northern Ireland, and he doesn't say where he is now. And he was in Argentina, and that's what he said. He just said, you've got to just look around you and forget about all this patriotism and all that. You got to look around you, see what's what, and see, is this where I want to be? And in his case, did he want to bring his kids up there in Argentina? I think he was in a rough area by the sound of it as well. And he went to Northern Ireland. And he thought that was paradise. And so it must have been bad where he lived. I don't know. I mean, he thought it was great. And he said he went there to get away with guns. The first thing he did is join a gun club. I don't know. But he's got out of there now, Northern Ireland, because of the weather, basically. And that's a good reason. That's one of the best reasons to get out of Northern Ireland. It's the weather. He said when all the kids at school, they don't draw the house with the blue sky. They don't colour it in blue. They colour it in grey. Which is, he noticed that because, like, he's from Argentina, obviously. Any drawings of houses there have got blue sky, but everything's kind of upside down. And I just watched a thing by this Christine Anderson. I like her. She's tough. Christine Anderson. Look it up. She's in the EU. She's like the bane of the of Ursula von der Leyen and her crew. And there's a few more. There is a few more. And Viktor Orban. and all the Polish MEPs, no mercy, and they don't hold back. The Poles, they're always like shouting at the odds at von der Leyen. There was this other woman the other day. She was giving her all, pointing a finger and all that. And, but Christine Anderson, she's good because she's good. She was like a bit like what Farage used to be when he was in the European Parliament. Because they do differently then. They do these speeches. And some of them, they just go for it, you know. And this Christine Anderson, she just did a mock up of the guy in Argentina. Is what was his name? Milei. And when he was going afuera, he had a big notice board with all these departments on, like drain the swamp, and he did it. And she did the same in the European Parliament. She said the World Health Organization, afuera. And that means like out, get the hell out of here, kind of in Spanish, afuera, out. And she did that, and it was quite a good speech. So we watch all these things with I watch them with kind of just with interest, you know. I don't root for any of these people and kind of thing. But the one thing that really did affect everyone was in 2020. And you couldn't avoid it then, and you had to take sides. And actually, the side that I was on won in the end. If you're going to win, if you're going to call it win or lose, let's call it prevailed. Like the side I was on, ideology wise, in the end, we won, hands down. Because it just came to an end because it was getting too much. They couldn't come up with any more stuff because it just wasn't any more to make up or kind of, you know, they couldn't have any more types of this thing, or they couldn't invent any more dead people. And they just said, well, they ran out of road, basically. They ran out of road. We ran out of stuff, and it was coming on top, so they just Zippo. And like all the populations as well, who thought everyone was taking part, which they weren't. They all think everyone's taking part in the thing, you know, the climate thing, net zero. No one's interested. No one's interested. It's only really the UK who's really going for it, I think. And some of the EU places. And maybe, I don't know, maybe Australia. They have good weather anyway, so... But like the one who's coming off the worst off out the law, what I can see out of this net zero stuff is the UK. That's who I can see suffering. The suffering the most. And a lot of people are on board with it. They love it. And no one else is interested. They might say they are. And they go to all these Paris Accord and all. Not interested. And it always makes me, I always mention it as well, when they blew up all the power stations, and I was thinking at the time, well, until this, all this wind power and solar, which half the time, both of those things don't work. Just straight off the bat, like, you know. Now, you can understand something like hydro, or tidal stuff, which they have big tides in the UK, and they could harness them. Like the River Mersey has a big tide, and they could put these tidal barrages there in it, but they don't. You know, and hydro, that's a good that's a good thing as well. And there's some countries got a surplus of energy through hydro. One of them is Paraguay. They got this massive dam, the biggest dam in the world, and the biggest hydro. They're probably mining Bitcoin at the bottom of the dam. If they got any sense, because they've got a surplus, and they did a joint venture with Brazil, but they sell a lot of their half or portion. I don't know whether it was 50-50. They just sell it straight to Brazil. So Paraguay, they're in a good position, probably, energy-wise anyway. And they seem to be in a good position anyway, out the road, out the way. But yeah, so that's what, it's all, everything's upside down. And if you believe all this stuff about Ukraine being this democracy and the seat of democracy and everything else, look it all up, look up the Banderas. And they're still to this day, they're persecuting these Romanians and the Hungarians who live there, and that'll play a part now. That will play a part. I can see them, and Poland. None of them like Ukraine. None of these neighbours. A lot of them tolerate each other, actually, like Hungary and Slovakia and Hungary and Serbia, and some of them are even friendly. Well, Bulgaria and Romania, they get on okay. They don't like the love of their lives. And even Bulgaria and Turkey now, who were arch enemies before, for obvious reasons, historical reasons. And the Bulgarians and the Greeks are getting more friendly. They used to have nothing at all to do with each other, which was, again, that was the Iron Curtain. Bulgaria and Greece, that was the Iron Curtain. And a lot of it's still there. These watch posts, they're all still there. And we went past one this year, actually, and it's got a brand new Bulgarian flag on it. so there's still like at it, you know. But yeah, and all the Balkans is really, they're not like they don't love each other. It's a love-hate thing with the Balkans, you know, and they all have similar traditions and similar versions of food and all that, and all the rest of it. But so what you've got to do is, in my opinion, is just cut your cloth and navigate through it all, and go to where the best place is at that time. And that's what the guy said. He went from Argentina to Northern Ireland, but then it wasn't going to be good for teenage. Where he was, it wasn't going to be good for his kids as teenagers. And that makes a lot of sense to me, because we went to Gibraltar when my daughter was very young, even before school. And I've always thought, like, she dodged a bullet there by going to Gibraltar from Liverpool, because she could have ended up being brought up in Liverpool and being you don't know which way people go in Liverpool. Not everyone's bad or goes bad, but some people do, and all like, you know, end up in the wrong place or the wrong company, or have to get the wrong partner or whatever. But it was Gibraltar for kids, safe, and it's you know, and it's all and it's UK education. They had the same education, A levels and O levels. Everyone has a Spanish A level there. Okay, cheers.